Hi guys, my name is Nicolette Mashile. I am also known as the Financial Bunny. Welcome to the Financial Bunny TV. Today I want to do a video that is an update to a video that I did a couple of months ago. It's on the two-part retirement system, right? Now that Mr. Enoch or Minister Enoch Godongwana has tabled the budget speech, it's very, very important to know that he has given updates on the two-part retirement system. And one that is absolutely important is when this is retirement reform is going to take place, right? So it goes into effect on the 1st of September 2024. And now there was a whole buzz in the room, or is it a plenary room there in Parliament when he mentioned this date. And he kind of casually made a joke about go get your money when the 1st of September starts. Now it's important to understand before you make any decisions to get a better understanding of what is actually going on. And most importantly, if you belong to a pension fund that is part of a employer-sponsored pension fund, go speak to HR and ask them to connect you to the pension fund administrator. If you are an RA holder and you're contributing to a retirement annuity, this is probably done on your own with a financial advisor. Go and speak to that financial advisor or call the company who holds your RA and ask them for a specialist to help you in understanding what this reform actually means for you. And of course, if you are from a legacy provident fund, you also want to have this conversation with them because I think it's absolutely crucial to understand. I can foresee already there's going to be huge problems when people do get to either retirement or when the 1st of September comes in 2024, right? But remember, none of my videos constitute as financial advice. If you are looking for financial advice, do speak to somebody, especially because this reform is going to change certain things and I might not be able to cover some of those things in this specific video. I would suggest just pick up the phone, type an email, have a conversation. So let's get into what it is. So if maybe perhaps you kind of missed the first video, what is the two-part retirement system? Basically, it's a retirement reform that has come in to allow people in this country who are part of a retirement fund to partially be able to withdraw funds. Now, in the olden days, the only way you could do this is if you're changing jobs or if you are retiring from a job, you would be able to withdraw a portion of your retirement fund, right? Or funds that are in your retirement fund. Now, the government is making it something that you can do once a year. Only once a year are you able to withdraw funds from a retirement fund, right? Now, it's very, very important to understand what's to come right after I say this, because a lot of people think, oh yes, Mom, I'm going to withdraw everything from my retirement fund. No, sweetie, you can't withdraw everything from your retirement fund, but we'll get to that. So let's stick to what is the two-part retirement system. Basically, it comes from the fact that some people only have their retirement funds as their savings. And the government is saying, well, look, if an emergency does arise, we don't want people to go into a spiral of potentially going into being broke or poverty simply because they cannot access funds that legally belong to them, right? Now, there's obviously pros and cons to bringing a reform like this. However, it's not just about withdrawing funds. There is also a part, and that's why it's called the two-part retirement system. There's a part where you're going to contribute your retirement funds, which you cannot touch. You cannot touch up until retirement. So whether you are changing jobs, whether you are resigning, you can't touch that part. And that's called the retirement component, right? So there are two parts that we're going to talk about. There's going to be the savings component. There's going to be the retirement component. And then there's one that is going to obviously come up, and that's called the vested component. The reason why many people might have the vested component is because they're already belonging to a retirement system or retirement fund rather, right? So it means that if you are right now, as we speak today, have some funds that are in a retirement fund, whatever shape the retirement fund is in, you essentially would have what is called a vested part. Now, if you want to go and withdraw come 1st of September, what is going to happen is the government is going to seed your parts, right? Using the funds from your vested part. So whatever is currently existing in your retirement fund, they're going to use those funds to seed the savings component. But how much? So let's say, for instance, you have 100,000 rand. The government is saying 10% of that, but it's 10%, but up to 30,000. So let's say, for instance, you've got 100,000. Now, 100,000, 10% of that is 10,000. great. You can withdraw the entire amount out. However, let's say you've got $1 million and your 10% is 100,000. You can't withdraw the entire 100,000. You can only withdraw up to 30,000 rand. So there's a cap into how much you can withdraw. Now, another very important thing to remember, there's a little thing that we call tax. So when you do make that withdrawal, please factor tax in, because it's going to also show you flames if you are not ready for it. You may be expecting 10,000 rand, it gets taxed, and then also you might find the pension fund administrator is going to levy some fees on that, and then all of a sudden you're not getting 10,000 rand into your bank account and you're upset. Again, another thing is you've got to give the instruction, right, to withdraw. So it doesn't happen automatically. I think a lot of people think that the withdrawal is going to happen automatically. The withdrawal is not going to be happening automatically. It is only going to happen if you do give them an instruction. The other thing is you've got to have more than 2,000 rand in the savings component for you to be able to withdraw. So if, let's say, you have a current retirement fund and it's sitting at 5,000 rand and you want to withdraw 10% of that, which is 500 rand, they're not going to allow you to do that. So it's very important to know that there must be a minimum amount of 2,000 rand for you to be able to withdraw. Now, what I'm finding isn't very clear, and I'm still looking to find information about this, is what happens going forward. So this year, the seeding is up to 10% or 30,000 rand. But let's say you go into next year, and now what happens is, or past the 1st of September 2024, what happens is when you do make your contribution, so whatever is deducted from your paycheck, when you are now getting your salary, whatever gets deducted, 1/3 of it goes into the savings component and the other 2/3 go into your retirement component, right? Very, very important. But now some people have an incredible or significant amount of money that they do contribute to their pension fund or to their retirement fund, which then means that going into next year's financial year, you may find yourself in a situation where you've accumulated over 100,000 rand in your savings component. The question we're still asking is, and I haven't gotten clarity on this, but I've read a lot of the content and it doesn't seem to say anything about a maximum limitation. There's a minimum limitation of 2,000 rand, but there's no maximum limitation of how much you will be able to withdraw. But once again, I must be very clear on this. Whatever it is that you're going to withdraw going forward past the 1st of September 2024 is tax liable. So you will pay tax on whatever it is that you are withdrawing. And this is absolutely important because the issue of tax always gets people riled up. And I'll give you an example. There was a mine that promised people payout of a certain amount of money, and when the amount hit their bank account, because people were expecting a certain amount, let's say you were expecting 100,000 rand, and it comes now as 80,000 rand, you're gonna go mad. You know why? Because a lot of us do this weird thing of planning and budgeting for money that has not been received in our bank accounts as yet, but we know is coming. So that is always why it is such a stress when you get the money and the tax has been levied on it and you don't get the amount that you were expecting. So absolutely crucial. What are the top things to remember from this video? 1, the reform is going to kick in on the 1st of September 2024, right? After this kicks in, your savings component will be seeded by money that's coming from your vested. So this is money from your legacy or your previous retirement fund that you've got. 10% of whatever it is that you've got, up to 30,000 rand. So if you've got more than 30,000 rand as your 10%, the 30,000 is the only amount that's going to seed it into your savings component. Going forward, whatever you contribute towards your retirement, 1/3 of it will go into your savings component and the other 2/3 will go into your retirement component. You are allowed to withdraw from your savings component once a year, but you've got to have a minimum amount of 2,000 rand, right? And then you cannot withdraw from your retirement component because you're not allowed to up until you decide to retire. I'm hoping this was clear enough for you to understand what are some of the changes that have come with the 2-part retirement system. As I mentioned, there are obviously other interpretations that you've got to take into consideration, considering what type of previous retirement fund you were in. There are people who were previously in a provident fund, and then when all retirements kind of became the same in terms of withdrawals, the money. So there's different types of people. There are people who have different types of retirement, especially like the older generation. They would have like money that was part of a provident fund before the new rules came in of retirement funds, in terms of all of them being the same. And then they've got money from now this previous retirement fund that is before the two-pot system. Then they'll still contribute towards the two-pot system. So there's various ones. I do know there are certain people of a certain age who do need to opt into the two-pot retirement system. So that is why I'm encouraging you to have a conversation. Do not leave it to chance. Do not assume that you're going to automatically get money on the 1st of September. It's not going to happen. I just want you to please go have a conversation with whoever is the administrator of your retirement fund, whatever shape, form it comes in, whether it's a pension fund, an RA, a provident fund. Go have the conversation so you can be clear on what steps you need to take. Please remember, you do not need to resign from your retirement fund. It's just a matter of how you're going to be moved into the new reform. I will leave it at that. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys on the next one.